and welcome to episode 25 of the GuildMag Podcast, and Casey's back. And she's muted her microphone. Some things never change.
They really never do.
How are you?
Back.
Yay.
How long has it been?
3 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
How have you been?
I'm good. I had a little bit of a health scare, as I told you already, and you probably know on Twitter. Not a health scare, I guess. That's a little bit of a dramatization of it. But I wasn't very well at my self-defense class. Oh yeah. And and yeah, so I cancelled last week. But I'm feeling a little bit better, and hopefully I'll make it through this show. Okie dokie.
What do they actually involve? Like, I asked you this on Twitter, but you didn't reply.
That sounds like me. So it's like I don't know, it's it's not karate or taekwondo, I can't remember what it is, but it's just martial arts, and it has lots of, like, because it's a women's self-defense class, it has a lot of, like, things to do to get away from attackers, like use your size and stuff to your advantage. So we learn a lot of, like, my favorite one is one where, like, you rip it out of someone's grasp and then you smack their ears and then you grab their shoulders and you knee them in the chest, and it's awesome.
I'd suggest kneeing them further down, but
yeah, that's also a good idea.
So yeah, last week we had Chris and Aaron on, which were cool guests, but they were nothing compared to you, Casey.
Oh, you're gonna make me blush. I'm so happy.
So yeah, we've got quite a lot to talk about this week. Obviously, the big news is the chronomancer specialization that people have been talking a lot about. We've also got beta portal stuff we're going to talk about, some weapon skins, and just generally stuff that's been happening this week, and a little bit, because you weren't here last week to talk about the specialization system, we're going to grill you on your thoughts.
Yeah, no, when we were talking about before the episode, you were like, what about this? Do you know this? Do you know this? And I'm like, oh my god, I don't know anything. So I'm very behind on everything, but I'm looking forward to this episode because you can fill me in. It'll be awesome.
Yay. So, one announcement I want to do before we get underway with the show is, as promised on the last episode, this week GuildMag issue 15 was released, called Into the Heart of Maguma. So we kind of explore everything you could possibly ever want to know about Heart of Thorns and Maguma. So we've got lore primers on Maguma, an article on the Druids, our usual fan fiction, which went down really well this issue actually. A lot of people really like the fiction. We've also, for anyone who hasn't played... Oh, did you want to say something?
No, I was coughing. I'm so sorry.
I was going, let me speak.
It's such a roundabout way. I'd be like, hang on, let me say something.
So yeah, I definitely encourage you guys to check it out on guildmag.com. Oh, and we also have a great recap of the whole of Season 2, Living World. So if you missed some of the episodes and you don't want to pay for the bundle that's in the gem store at the moment, then read the article instead. It's free. So there you go.
I really want to open it up now, but I know, like, if I open it up now, I'll start reading it, and then you'll be, like, talking at me, and I'll be like, huh? yeah, totally.
Yeah, so if anyone who's reading it is interested in contributing to the magazine as part of the GuildMag team, we are always looking for new writers, editors and designers. Even if you know nothing about designing, you've got no formal qualifications, but you think you can make something look good, then feel free to apply. Similarly, about editing and writing, give it a go. And we encourage anyone to apply who's interested. You can go to guildmag.com/join to read more about each of the roles. And yeah,
the big thing about it is it's you can learn skills, but the thing that's most prized, I think, especially for Ron, is dedication.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, dedication. So if you just want to get involved in the community, this is just a great place to get just involved in doing stuff with everyone, and you can pick up skills as you go as well.
Absolutely. We have a team of 15 plus people, I think is the last number, who are all there to support each other. If if you fancy writing but you think you're not a great writer, you know, everyone supports each other. We've got editors that help you improve. Sandra and I help you improve. Casey will even help you improve if you wanted to. So yeah, I definitely encourage you all to give it a go.
I don't know how much help I would be. I'd be like, oh, this is nice. Yeah, I like this part. Do they have to die at the end? And you're like, this is a pivotal part of the story. And I'm like, it doesn't sound very nice. I'll try my best though.
So yeah, so that's my little spiel on that. So let's get into the episode. I forgot what I was going to say then.
You're like, what are we doing now? What are we getting into right now? So let's get into talking about beta keys, because that was a big thing that came out in the last week, was it?
Yeah.
That was really awesome. I really was quite happy with this. But basically, beta keys for the Heart of Thorns, next Heart of Thorns beta are dropping in the Silver Waste and Dry Top, isn't it? Or is it Top Dry?
Dry Top. It's not
Dry Top.
You've been saying Top Dry for like the past year, and I've just held my tongue.
I know. My husband always tells me off about it, but I get really like snappy at him. He's like, I say, go to Top Dry. He's like, you mean Dry Top? And I'm like, you know what I mean. But yeah, so it's Dry Top. So they're dropping in Silver Waste and Dry Top, which is the new maps, and it has a lot of content that they're really pushing for, and it will be, you know, the newer stuff. So they've been dropping there, which is really cool. It's a different approach to the normal way that you hand out beta keys. And so if you have been in game and you've just noticed how busy Dry Top and the Silver Waste are, there are tons of people just flocking to these maps in the hopes of getting a beta key. And even today, when we started chatting to people before the podcast, the first thing that people asked was like, "Have you got your beta keys yet?" And I should actually quickly ask: is it beta or beta?
I say beta.
Beta. Yeah, because when you say beta, I'm like, gotta beta those eggs, you know, like. I know that sounds really lame, you know.
Oh dear.
So I'm gonna go with beta. But yeah, so everyone's really excited about it, and there has been a little thing like people thought it was affected by Magic Find, and they've been buffing up their Magic Find to get these portal keys. But then a developer actually announced that these keys aren't affected by Magic Find. So yeah, it kind of has really pulled people in to start playing these maps a lot more than has been recently. And chat, Alaska says it's both, as in beta and beta. It can be both and depends where you're from. And Sekuso says it beta, not
beta.
Beta. Yeah, so that's just basically what they're doing. So let's just like talk about how we thought about this new approach, because this is different to what they've done in the past. So what was your opinion on this whole thing?
I like that it's an in-game thing. I think a lot of people don't mind it's an in-game thing. I think the big issue everyone has is it's RNG. Which you know, a lot of people complain that they're spending hours and hours and hours for no result. You know, a lot of people are really desperate to kind of play the beta if you haven't had a chance to already. Even if you have, you know, it's going to be new content compared to what they've already done, I think. So, but don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty like 99% sure it won't be the stuff we've seen already. It will be new stuff. Yeah, I don't like the RNG aspect of it. I feel like if there was some sort of guaranteed way to get one, but one that was kind of difficult enough that not like every player will be able to get one, but not too difficult that like no one would, because no one wants to spend like 10 hours just to get into a beta, say. I mean, some people might do, I don't know, but
some people have already, you know.
Exactly, but
yeah, I mean, from what you're saying is like, to me, it's like you're saying RNG, and if they send out an email, it's just as RNG. But I suppose the difference is that you're spending 10 hours farming and then you're not getting anything, opposed to you're just not getting an email, you know. You don't have to put in lots of work. Yeah. But I think no matter which way you distribute the beta keys, you're just gonna have people that are gonna be unhappy, you know. That's just the way it is. And personally, I'm with you. I really love the fact that it is in game. I think that is awesome. With the whole thing, like, oh, you know, a guaranteed way of getting it, but it's difficult or something like that. I think that's a little bit dangerous of just getting elite players into betas. And Guild Wars is not a game for elitists in a sense. It's for very casual people, more casual.
Yeah.
Than standard MMOs. In general, I think this, out of all the different ways they could have distributed keys, I think this is a great one. I think it makes people feel very festive. I know that is kind of a weird word, but it kind of gets them in the mood, especially since it's the Silver Waste and Dry Top. And just quickly before I finish my opinion, guys, let us know what you think, because when I finish my opinion, hopefully a few of you guys will get your opinions down in chat and we can talk about it. We'll say your opinions. But did you like this way of doing beta keys? Which way would you prefer they hand out beta keys? What did you like, didn't like? Yeah. But so yeah, I think it's just the best way they could have done it. Any way you do it, it would have gotten bad things. I do feel for people who do farm for 10 hours and get nothing, and then people who log in for an hour and get something. But I do like this sense of festivity, like, oh, you know, you're earning your beta key, and it's creating a community, it's creating lots of posts, it's creating people talking about how to get the beta keys. I like it a lot.
Yeah. So I'm going to bring out a couple of things from chat. So Netco says, I liked it before, but now after 30 hours of farming, I'll start to hate it soon.
My word!
But you know, it's at that point. I don't think it works. Like, when people are spending 30 hours on RNG just to get into a beta because they really want to play this game and try it out, and then they just don't get it. I think
that shows dedication and not getting rewarded for it.
I think that sucks. And so Obi says RNG is RNG. You could play it for 1 hour and get it, or farm for 100 hours and not get it. And I think that's the point. Like, the point you bring out is, at least with just a mailing list, like you log in, check your email for like a minute, you get it, great. You don't get it, oh well. I haven't spent my life trying to get it and failing. So yeah, and Ali. Sorry, it says.
Oh my god, that's my birth year as well. Is it me?
Some people don't know there is actually still a chance of getting into it without the stone, because they're going to be picking from the mailing list and the people who have a stone. So that's quite interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know that at all.
I didn't know that either. I did wonder how the mailing list kind of fitted into it all. So don't fret if you haven't got your portal stone yet. As long as you're signed up to the newsletter, there's still a chance. But yeah, I don't know.
Some people,
oh god.
Obi makes a point that if you farmed for 100 hours, at least you got a lot of gold.
Yeah,
that's true.
I think
you got a lot of rewards.
That's the one saving grace of this, is that it does happen in the silver wastes, where you can make a fair amount of money off it and other things as well. It's not just farming for a portal stone and not getting anything in return. You're at least getting something for your troubles.
Yeah. I'm this sort of person, I really enjoyed doing the silver waste for a long time, especially when getting the carapace armor. Since I got all the luminescent armor, I haven't really been doing it very much, but it was nice to go back. Unfortunately, it's one of those maps that you kind of need a dedicated build that to make it easier. If I went in with my Elementalist, I'll just get steamrolled in 2 seconds. So I have a ranger and a warrior that I go into, and because you need to have the keys on the character, and you need to have, you kind of have everything stacked on one character, so you kind of like have a dedicated character for the Vine Waste, the Silver Waste or the Vine Wrath. And I personally, I went and farmed for about 4 hours, I would say, and I really liked the community. Like, lots of people, there was so many people advertising for parties to join, and just the people chatting in chat, like, how did you get it? Has anyone got a key? And congratulating when someone got a key and stuff like that. I really liked it a lot. So I should actually go to Dry Top to finish my amber weapons, because I love the amber weapons, but I really like the thing of the silver waste. If you're in the silver waste and you're playing, anywhere you go, you're doing the event. Like, you're never gonna be just wandering around. With dry top, you're just like, there's so much downtime, and if you happen to be at the wrong place at the wrong time, you're not gonna get an event, or But anyway. So yeah, I think that's all we can really say about the beta keys. So
I was going to say that I just wanted to bring out one last thing from Obi. It says, I think it's important that people not get carried away with expecting to get one, at least any more than they expect to get one from a random email drawing. And I think that's the point here. I mean, yes, it's an RNG drop in game, but don't spend 30 plus hours trying to get one. I mean, by all means, if that's what you want to do it, but don't get carried away with it.
Don't expect it.
It's only a beta.
Because you're going to get
one beta of many more that are going to come. So it's not the be all and end all.
So the other thing that came out this week was, actually I forgot to put it in here, but we'll talk about it later. There was the Balthazar weapon skins that actually match the Balthazar outfit, I should say. And you've written down that you quite like them.
Surprisingly, for the first time in a long time, I actually like a couple of the weapon skins that have been released.
Well, normally it's like me, like, oh my god, and this time around I'm just like, I know that people love the Balthazar outfit, and similarly they like this, and I can understand why, but it's just not my cup of tea, so I've just been like, about the whole thing.
I was surprised. Like, I went in game to look at them, because normally I just base my opinions on some screenshots, and I'm like, well, I'm not really being fair to them if I don't actually preview them in game instead. So this time before the show, I went and I looked at a bunch of them in game. Normally I'm not one who likes the more subtle weapon skins. I like the ones with all the particle effects and the footsteps and everything going on.
Flamboyant ones,
It's like, look at me kind of thing. But I actually really like them. I think the greatsword and the sword look quite cool. I could definitely see myself kind of building a character's look around them. A lot like I did with when the Phoenix weapon skins came out. I quite like them. They're not too showy either, but they're just the right amount, I think.
They're very similar, these Balthazar and the Phoenix ones. Not very similar, but they are the same sort of theme.
I really like them. I mean, there's not much else I can say on them. It's just, I guess it's down to everyone's personal opinion. But it's nice. It's nice to see.
Sorry.
I was just gonna say it's nice to see, because they're another kind of flame themed weapon, but it's nice to see them not overly fiery, if that makes sense. It's quite subtle and like intricately worked into them. So I think it definitely differentiates them from other fiery themed weapons we have.
I just like the matching sets. Like, I like that an outfit, I very much am appreciative of sets that are matching, like the Zodiac armors and then the Zodiac weapons, even though they didn't really seem like they were cut from the same cloth, the Zodiac weapons and armor. They looked like they had two different people designing them. But I do very much like the matching stuff. Alaska Winter says the shadow weapons came out. Did we not talk about the shadow weapons on the show? And all the shadow dies.
No. I
don't
think we did we?
I think we missed it, yeah. So have you seen the shadow weapons?
No, but I'm about to.
We both frantically go to Guild Wars 2 Dolphy. The shadow weapons are actually very cool. I did like them a lot. And also, if you go to the Dolphy, you'll see the upcoming items from the April 28th patch, which was what I was going to talk about, which I forgot to write down. But the shadow weapons are kind of like these, I think they're black and purple, and they have like this very, the shadow weapons came out quite a while ago.
I was just going to say, this is posted from the 16th of March. Have they have they re-come out? Is something else happened that I'm not aware of?
Are we
being trolled by Alaska?
Yeah, I think Alaska, they came out on March, so I think we must have not talked about it in the talked about it. Did we talk about the hair? We did. We talked about the hair, new hairstyles. How can I forget? But so the Daydreamer's Finery is an outfit that came out. God, it's hard to speak sometimes. Yeah, so that's Shaman Data Mind. Data.
We're not American.
Hey, I'm like in the middle. I have both American, like I don't even know how to spell correctly in my country. There's both American and English, and if you write both of them, they both look alright to us. But anyway, the Daydreamer's Finery is a new outfit that came out, and it has received a lot of attention because I have to say it is one of the sluttier male armor pieces, which makes me so happy.
You male objectifying woman.
Because there's always ones with women that are like putting on their boobies up in display in those tight little corsets. But this one, it displays the male chest.
Now we've got men boobies as well.
Yes.
So
I'm not going to say anything.
I was a bit like, oh, hello. Not like that. Not like that. not in that way. I was like kind of shocked to see it like that. It's just a bit.
Yeah. It reminds me of a boob window for girls. Yeah. You know, like that superhero, Supergirl or Power Girl. I think she always has like this boob window just to make sure that the boobs are always there. I liked that ab window just to make sure he's got the six pack there.
But yeah, I mean, it's all if that's your thing, then you go ahead and buy it. Yeah.
Yep. It looks very cool. And another thing that came out was some minis for spring minis came out, and then the elegant fan, which is like, oh, this is my hand fan. But yeah, so another Canthan themed thing, which is awesome. I like that they're releasing some Canthan stuff.
Does it feel like they're going a bit overboard with it now? I mean, they're releasing a fair amount of Canthan themed things.
Yeah, they are.
It's kind of a bit like they're overcompensating for not going to Cantha.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, we're never going there. Have the Canthan stuff right
Here's
now.
Here's a fan. Take it.
Yeah, so that is the gem store stuff. Not really big stuff, just, you know, the usual status quo.
Alaska says, is the fan actually out yet? I know it was No, it's not out yet. It's just been data mined.
The data. That is just being mined. I'm not going to even say it now. These are just previews, basically, that we have. They haven't come out yet.
Yeah. So, shall we move on then? That's all the kind of newsy stuff. So we're going to talk a bit about Specializations and the Chronomancer. So Casey wasn't here last week, so she's going to get a grilling on her thoughts. I'll go easy, don't worry.
Sorry, go on.
No, go on.
You wrote it in the notes, and I was like, what? What is this? And then you sent me a link to a page that I hadn't even seen before, and I researched before the show, but I had missed this completely. And so I had absolutely no idea what he's talking about, and it looks so different, and it's completely gone over my head. So I'm hoping Rowan and the people in the chat will help me understand this.
Okay, so we'll go easy first then. You know about the actual specialization system bit, right? About replacing traits and things. No? Okay. We'll
I'm so bad.
Okay, so the new specializations will replace the current trait lines. Mm-hmm. So traits at the moment, you have 5 trait lines. One gives like power, another gives precision, vitality, that kind of thing. So specializations will replace that. You'll get 5 core specializations, which you pick three from at level 80. So for Elementalist, it's like fire, air, water, earth, magic, and arcane. Yeah. And then within those specializations is you have your traits. So you get 3 minor traits that are automatically applied, and then you pick 3 major traits, 1 from each tier. So like.
Oh, and that's the thing where the Yeah,
So
the
you have
diagonal, like sewing.
Grandmaster, Master, and Adept, I think they're called, aren't they? Yeah. The major ones. And then you have 3 within each of them, and you pick 1 from each of the 3.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's really simplified.
Yeah, and then so you pick 3 out of these 5 lines at level 80, and that's your core specialization. Then your elite specializations is an extra track, which you can pick instead of one of your core ones. So if you were to have an elite specialization, you have 2 core and 1 elite. So the way they word it is like, the example they gave was Druid or something. It'd be like, I'm a ranger specializing in whatever rangers have, nature magic, something. Or I'm a druid specializing in what X and Y. So does that make sense? So like,
so if it says I'm a ranger, you have 3 specializations, and if it says I'm a druid, you only have 2 specializations.
You have 2, and the druid bit is your elite specialization instead of a core one.
That is a lot different than what I expected.
Yeah, it really is. I think it surprised a lot of people. It definitely surprised me. And what I found really interesting is that they're completely shifting all stats and attributes to gear and base stats rather than trait lines. So these specializations will have no actual stats with them.
That is a lot better in my opinion.
I really like that as well. It definitely puts more of a focus on your gear.
Yeah, there has been so many times where I'm like, I want the water skills, but I want to still be berserker. You know, like there's some, and then you end up like 500 in vitality there, or toughness that you're never going to use, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And so some things like some traits that you have at the moment, things like that make Necromancer Wells ground targeted, and like consecration skills for guardians, they're going to be worked into the actual skill itself. So that trait will be gone. So like all Necro Wells will just be ground targeted now.
Oh, that's cool.
And things like all Guardian weapon summons will last longer with the trait that makes them last longer, that kind of thing. So I think it's really cool. It's kind of just streamlining the whole thing, and it really, to me, it really makes it feel like you're going to properly be able to specialize and build the class the way you want to, without having to worry about like the attributes that come along with these traits. It's purely just what you want to do with it.
I have to admit, when you showed me those pictures and I saw the specialization calculator that we're going to talk about next, I thought, wow, this is a lot more streamlined. Like, it's a lot easier. None of the finicky kind of clicking. And I mean, some people really enjoy that kind of like, oh, I've got 100 traits to choose from and, making the best thing. But for me, I've always found making builds very taxing. It's not something I enjoy. I just like to have my build and play. And so often a lot of people will change their builds depending on fights, and I will just stay in one build for months until I feel like it needs to be changed, that sort of thing. And this is a really awesome streamlined way of doing it, which is totally awesome. And hopefully it kind of makes it easier for this whole keeping your build and being able to save presets and stuff like that, because it is a lot more simplified now.
I can't remember. I think one dev did talk about the idea that they were playing around with looking into that. That was such a convoluted sentence. The idea that they were playing around like...
It was so many prefixes onto it, just like to avoid all accountability, like maybe thinking or possibly perhaps.
But don't quote me on that, but I'm sure I remember reading it or hearing that somewhere.
So should we just... Sorry.
Yeah. No.
Should we pick up a few things out of chat? Have you noticed anything interesting?
Not really. So just a point that Alaska brings out is that they're increasing the amount of trait points you get by 4, so you are able to max out the 3 specializations that you pick.
Oh, okay.
So it's not a case of like pick 2 that you want to max out and 1 that you can only like half max or something.
Yeah. So that means that. So that I think that worries me about certain things. For example, like I suppose it actually doesn't matter too much, because at the way the game is at the moment, you only really focus on two or three trait lines at a time. You never really spread out over too many. But to cut off so much of the content seems a bit constricting. I don't know how this will affect. It could absolutely not bother, but like to think that I won't, because I guess it's not permanent though. I mean, if you just take it out of fire, you can just go put it straight back into air or water or something like that. It's just it seems very constricting. It's just very surprising.
I mean, I guess it could be, but the counter argument with that, I'm going to bring up Obi's point, is do you guys think this will increase build diversity in PvE? Is I think it makes it a lot more streamlined for people who don't want to spend hours trawling through all the traits to kind of make up their own build and like think, oh, what's the most optimal here? And it's literally pick one of three in each of these slots, you know, job done. So I think in that sense it can increase build diversity because you can have more people kind of experimenting with what they like, and not you won't. I don't think you'd necessarily see a million Zerka Ellies all running the same sort of standard meta builds kind of thing. So I think
also it might help as well because it seems that they've identified traits that people have just deemed, you know, essential. For example, the wells and consecration, targeted consecration, like pretty much every build, no matter what stats or anything, they'll go out of their way to go and get those traits. And so maybe because they've taken out things that people have deemed essential, it can be more about choice, you know?
Yeah. It's definitely interesting how it will play out. It definitely wasn't what I think anyone was really expecting. But it makes it makes a lot of sense, and I think it feels the whole kind of theme that they were doing this is kind of streamlining everything. So talking about the profession reward tracks, how you unlock things, we go into that next. So you didn't know anything about this either, I assume. So I had to explain this a little bit to you before the show.
Yeah, you're very kind. He's been explaining so much to me today.
So you'll unlock these specializations and all your traits and your skills in a new way, much more streamlined way. So skill points are being replaced by things called hero points. They're essentially the same thing, just a rename. And there's this new profession reward track system where for your profession, you'll have all of your 5 core specializations, you'll have all of your types of skills. And one thing to note is that every skill is being given a type now. So things that were previously unclassified, like, I don't know. I can't think of a skill on the top of my head. So any skill that previously didn't have a type. So for like Ellie, you have cantrips, glyphs.
Yep. So like a racial skill, perhaps.
Yeah. So everything will have a type, and then you unlock these types through spending your hero points in this specific track. A bit like you can imagine, a bit like the PvP reward tracks, except instead of just playing the content and getting points, you just manually assign points after you level up and do your hero point challenges, they'll be called, instead of skill point challenges. And this is also how you unlock your elite specialization, the same way you'll unlock your core specializations and the rest of your skills. So it's kind of just a more streamlined way of unlocking everything. For people like us, it won't really affect us too much. Because we'll already have more than enough hero points to unlock everything that we want to. You only need to get to level 80 and do 65 hero point challenges to have everything unlocked. So I think for new players it'll be a lot simpler to understand, because instead of like having to go out and unlock your traits and unlock your weapon skills by hitting things and you know, do all this kind of thing, so I definitely think it's good.
I definitely think like they really hit a doozy when they introduced the way the trait system is currently. It's just, you know, and this really seems like they've learned from the mistakes, and I think it will be a lot better, because they were trying to make it better for new people, but even new people were just like, no, this is shit. But I'm really looking forward to seeing this. Just quickly, Alaska Winter has had some comments about the creating build diversity. Actually, a lot of people had a lot of comments about it. As it says, number crunchers will always find the optimal build depending on the circumstances, and Blue Blob says most likely optimal builds will just be more obvious. And so and that Shaman says the new system makes it load easier for them to add new specializations, which is a great point.
This is all the core. They're kind of, with Heart of Thorns, they're laying the foundation for them to be able to expand more easily in the future. So it'll definitely, you know, adding more elite specializations will be so much easier in the future. And you'll unlock them through this professional reward track thing. And you get to play with them in that, and I really like it all. And talking about build diversity, there will always be an optimal build. I think this is more a case of making it easier to find. I don't want to say find the suboptimal ones. That's not what people are doing. But find something you want to play around with a lot more easier than having to trawl through like a million traits. So.
Yeah, no, when I get optimal builds, like I often go to the optimal builds for dungeon running and stuff like that, but I don't always use them. I put them in and then I'm like, okay then, I'm not going to survive this. What can I do to make myself this a little bit easier? And for example, I use a lot of instead of another trait, I use a trait that gives me vigor, so I can dodge roll a lot more, so I can survive easier. And those little things, I change the trait, just little things. And this will be one of those things where you can get the optimal thing and so easily change it to tailor it to your specifications. So this is really cool.
So speaking of specializations and playing around with them, as a lot of people in chat have already pointed out and been talking about, that shaman has produced a specialization calculator hosted at dulphy.net, which we'll just link in the chat now for anyone who hasn't had a chance to play around with it yet. And it's really cool. It's really cool. It gives you an overview of all the traits in the specializations we know of at the moment. And it gives people a chance to just kind of theory craft and play around with things before Heart of Thorns.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing, but I have to admit, it's a lot of fun to make the sewing, the little dots join and stuff like that. I quite enjoy it. I just have to quickly say, it's very nicely done, and it's really cool to have this sort of community, the community pulls together all their knowledge and creates something awesome like this. But yes, I very much like it.
Absolutely. So that's just a shout out to that, and now we're going to get into that main thing that we're talking about. And that's the chronomancer that was not released. That was, what's what I'm looking for? Detailed. I'll go with that. It was detailed this week. Announced. There we go. Yes.
Detail makes you think it's a car, you're detailing a car.
So Chronomancer, the first Mesmer Elite specialization, obviously the only one that will be coming with Heart of Thorns, has been announced, and it looks so cool. I don't have a level 80 Mesmer at the moment, but I want one so much. I've got a level 45 or something sitting around there, and I've had it for about a year and a half. I just haven't really played it much, but I'm so determined to get it up to 80 before Heart of Thorns launches.
I have to admit, when I saw the chronomancer, my first thought was, thank God I have a level 80 level 80 Mesmer. I've already got the Mesmer, I just needed to kit her out now.
So I want to just go back to last episode for a brief second, and I mentioned on it when we were talking about these specializations. The blog post said something along the lines of some profession elite specializations will only get a main hand or an offhand weapon as their new weapon, and I was like, well, how much can an offhand weapon really change how you play that profession? But oh my god, I was wrong when it came to chronomancer, at least, because obviously they get a shield as an offhand, so it only gives you 2 new weapon skills, but the entire class just basically changes as a chronomancer, and it
looks like a different class, doesn't it?
It really does. I've put in here, it's kind of a cohesive theme across. It's not just about the new weapon. In fact, that kind of takes a backseat compared to everything else that comes along with this specialization. We get a new F5 skill, we get new utility skills. We get wells. You get a new elite. It feels almost like a totally new profession.
It does. It absolutely does.
So I was completely wrong last episode about offhands won't change how it feels.
I would have agreed with you, honestly, because I was thinking a focus. If you look at the Elementalist focus, I just use that when I'm in a fight and I need to survive, or reflecting, and there's no guardian I can rely on. But I just need to survive. That's all it's useful for. But the shield does look really useful. And I can't just say how freaking psyched I am about having a sword and shield elementalist. Oh!
Mesmer.
Yes! Mesmer.
Getting ahead of yourself there.
I know, but I know at least I have a sword elementalist. Wow. But how cool it's going to be a light class and be able to melee. And it's going to be substantial melee, because I really love the sword on the Mesmer. I think it is really cool, but the offhand has always been a little bit, like I really like the focus, but a lot of people like the sword, but it's kind of not as cool looking. But with the sword and shield,
I was dreading the day they were going to announce an elite specialization with its offhand as a war horn, like its new weapon. I was just like, oh no, this is going to be bad. Thankfully, that's not the case for the Mesmer.
Yeah. They're gonna change it to the Elementalist just to spite us. You're like, oh, you want a sword? You're thinking you're gonna get a sword? No, here, have a war horn.
Just blast some water out of it or something, and there you go. There's like the two new skills.
Actually, I reckon that might be the Guardian. The Guardian new thing will be the war horn, I reckon.
Well, we're not allowed to talk about that.
Oh, aren't we?
No, we're not. Not that it is a war horn or not. I've got myself in. It's not, or it is, or it might not be a war horn, but we're not allowed to talk about what the Guardian's got because we don't know, Casey. We don't know. Right. Anyway, getting back into the chronomancer. So Sekuso says in chat, my only gripe is that Mesmer still only has one viable one-hand weapon. Scepter is so bad, I feel.
Yeah, no, that is bad for PvE. I don't know about PvP, but PvE, I worked so hard to make Scepter work in PvE, and it just doesn't.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess that's kind of the one bad point about it, but...
Oh, now I know! I know why we're not allowed to talk about it.
So moving on then. So the unique, another unique thing that chronomancer. Pull it together, Casey.
Power on, Tron, power on.
Yeah. So Alacrity. Let's talk about Alacrity. The unique. It's not a boon. It's just a buff. That's really important to point out. So Alacrity.
So you can't extend it with boon extend duration.
No, you can't. So Alacrity is unique to chronomancers only, and it's kind of the opposite of chilled. It speeds up your skill recharges by 66%. I think the stat they gave on the POI livestream was if you have it for 3 seconds on you, it speeds up by 1 second or something. I can't remember. I didn't really watch it that much.
I remember the part where he said it. I don't remember the numbers. It's just like numbers go over my head.
So I really like this Alacrity thing, and the fact that it's only at the moment only on chronomancers, and the only way for you to get it if you're not a chronomancer is to be gifted it by a nice chronomancer.
Oh. That's so sweet. I love the way gifted
it. I really like that it's kind of making them much more unique and, as the name suggests, specialized. It's kind of giving you a reason to bring them along compared to another professional specialization. The chronomancer is a lot about kind of Alacrity and this sort of AoE party support with its wells and things.
Yes. Oh my god, that's going to be so cool.
So it definitely gives you a reason to bring it over, say, just like another Ellie or something, like another, whatever. So I really like that, and I really hope that they kind of continue this with all the specializations, so they really kind of fill niche things in the party.
No, you're absolutely right. There was not really any reason that Mesmer was desired except for Reflect, which a Guardian could do, and Time Warp, which has way too long of a cooldown to be effective. So giving this Alacrity is kind of like extending this part of the Mesma abilities.
Yeah. And so to go along with Alacrity is their F5 skill, which is called Continuum, begins with an S, Shift, something like that. Someone will tell me in chat. And this essentially, I think this is really even cooler than Alacrity. I think is their new F5 skill, which sounds a little bit OP in my opinion.
Tell me about it. Can't remember it.
So F5 skill, when you activate it, you kind of, it's all timey-wimey stuff. Essentially, you activate it, and then you can do whatever. And then when you reactivate it or the time runs out, you get teleported back to where you were and the status you were at when you activated it. So let's say
you like drop everything and then go back and drop everything again.
Basically, yeah. So you could be on full health, activate it, get down to 1 HP, reactivate, you're back at full health. You've got all your skills again because you didn't use them when you activate. So you can do like double time warp, double mower, double heal, whatever you want.
See, this is really interesting because I remember on the point of interest, the guy is like, we're trying to make mesmers more, not what's it called, like balance them because they were too overpowered at the moment. But this sounds like it's just even more overpowered.
Yeah, it's overpowered, but they have balanced it in one way. So, thank you for in chat. Luna Nat says it's Continuum Split, and then the reactivation is Continuum Shift. So when you Continuum Split, you leave behind this like split in reality kind of thing. That's essentially, it's got its own health pool and it's attackable. And if somebody destroys that, you automatically go back. So things like in PvP, if you attack that and then you put like an AoE down underneath it, as soon as it dies, the Mesmer will jump back to it and they'll be caught in whatever you've stuck there. So that's kind of how they're balancing it out.
So that requires you to really think. Rather, it's not OP as long as you are thinking about it. If you have no idea what that is or what's going on, it can be OP. But if you're really thinking about it, it can be easily countered.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it has quite a long cooldown as well. If I remember correctly, I didn't see all of the points of interest live stream. I only saw like the first 10-15 minutes.
I imagine it would be something like akin to a F ultimate.
But still, it's such a really cool idea. Like when people first say chronomancer, you're just like, oh yeah, what can you really do that's unique with time and things that hasn't been done already? But oh my god, so much.
Apparently. Like you said, the shield skills, they're using a little bit of time, aren't they?
Yeah. So the shield skills, you get 2 weapon skills. And the fact that these shield skills aren't even the focus of this class is just like a testament to how much of a cohesive theme the whole thing is. So the number 4 shield skill, I think, is called Tides of Time, and it basically launches a wall of energy at your foes, and as it travels it blocks projectiles, and any allies hit by it will gain quickness, and any enemies hit will be stunned. And then when it's reached its path, it comes back again, and if you catch it, then you get a reduced recharge on it. So
that's cool.
It's really cool.
That is so cool.
And they're kind of making use of this kind of new technology that they've put into the Revenant, is kind of transferring it into these specializations as well. And it kind of gives you, what's the word I'm trying to say? Okay, so it gives you a lot of potential to kind of master the specialization as opposed to just being okay at it. I imagine to begin with, okay people will shoot it out and then kind of forget that it comes back again and then not catch it. And if you don't catch that skill, it has quite a long recharge. I think it's like 45 seconds, somebody correct me or something. But if you catch it, I think it goes down to 30 or something like that. So it takes quite a chunk off.
It makes it worthwhile.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, I think that I don't know if it was this one or the other one. I think the other skill is just a block, but they showed an image of when the enemies get caught in time, because that was the thing, was like when you're stunning them, you're actually catching them in time, and it actually has a different effect on it. They don't just become stunned with the whole staggering. They stop and they're covered in purple, and I thought that was really cool, that like a commitment to the caught in time thing. They just didn't give it the stun animation.
Absolutely. Obi says it doesn't feel like the shield skill is what really makes the chronomancer. It's more utilities and traits, and I completely agree. And that's such a great, it's such a surprising thing to me, but it's such a great surprise, I feel. Because going into this, they were kind of all about, you get a new weapon skill, and this is what's going to define your specialization. Actually, it's not really. It's just an added cool thing that comes with it. So I really like it.
I think the thing I'm most looking forward to is the wells. I love wells on my Necro. I don't know how good they are because I don't play my Necro PvE, but I love wells. I just think they're really cool. And looking at the wells, they look awesome in this game. and they're ground targeted, which seems that might be automatic. I'm not quite sure, but that's very cool. And I just love like the ticking hour hand going around, the minute hand, and just the effects look amazing. And that was just from the videos that I saw from the points of interest. I am hyped more for the chronomancer than for anything else I have seen so far. It might change when I see the Elementalist, because I like Elementalist, but I'm definitely going to kit out my Mesmer now for this chronomancer.
Absolutely. I don't even have a level 80 Mesmer. I want to play this so bad. Maybe even more than the Revenant now. I don't know. It's up there. Like, if all these specializations are as good as this, then we're going to be spoilt for choice. We really are. I was going to say something I completely forgot. I can't remember.
Should I do the Macarena while you...
I remember. I really... Oh,
yay!
I was going to talk about... We were talking about the wells. So I really like that they're not just like necro wells. It's kind of like they have... They function differently, and that they have like 3 pulses and then the big effect goes off, rather than just like being a persistent well effect kind of. So I like that they're doing it differently as well, is what I wanted to say.
Oh, this actually makes me really excited for the rest of the specializations, because the other specializations, I was like, yeah, this is cool. You know, it's not bad, but this makes me excited, and to see what they can do with the classes is...
Yeah. It's going to be really good. So yeah, what do you guys think about it in chat? We've had a couple of people mention it, but are you excited for the Chronomancer? Will you be playing it? Are there any other specializations you're really looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to the Elementalist.
You know what? I kind of am as well.
Because I do, my money is on the sword. And also that reminds me, they said in the points of interest that they were looking at trying to make it viable for a close combat Mesmer. And that's what I want to be, a close combat Mesmer. So imagine if they did a close combat Elementalist. That would be cool.
Yeah.
So Blue Bob says, I'm just hoping they don't mess up Necro. I'm hoping they don't mess up any classes.
Well, I mean, the thing about that is if you don't like the specialization for the Necro, you don't have to use it. You know, you can just have your core ones and stay as a Necro, not as a whatever they're going to turn into. So this is really cool, because that kind of answers the question. Anyone who doesn't get the Heart of Thorn expansion just won't have access to those specializations, I guess. Yeah. Which is really interesting. I don't know about other MMOs, but for other MMOs, when they release expansions, does that mean that the builds, you can't access different skills? So, like, you can only get this skill if you have this expansion, that sort of thing. Which is the same, was it the same in Guild Wars 1? If you didn't have factions, you couldn't get faction skills and use them in PvP? I think so. I barely remember, because I unlocked I had most of the games, like, within quick succession of each other, so I don't particularly remember. But I mean, it's easy, because the way it works is before Hearththorn's releases is when the core specializations come out, and this whole professional reward track, so they'll be there before the expansion even launches. And then you'll only be able to unlock the elite specialization if you have the expansions. So
alright.
I think it's quite a clean way of separating the things off.
Yeah. So we've got Lunanak saying Mesmers will be gods, chronomancers will be gods of time. No idea how other classes will be able to compete. So yeah, I was thinking the same. I think they're going to be really OP, but they seem to be trying to balance them. And Angel says, just because we get swords as squishy doesn't mean we're meant for melee. I want a melee. I really, really want melee on Ellie. So Alaska just reminded me that specializations are being released before the expansions. But actually, someone was saying, Alaska was saying, I'm looking forward to finally getting my main Revenant. So a lot of people are excited for Revenant.
I'm super excited for Revenant. I'm really excited, as much as we can't talk about, I'm really excited to see what the Guardian specialization is.
I'm pretty sure what you're worried about was actually released to everyone.
Let's not go there. Let's not do this again.
All right, let's not do this again. I love making it feel so awkward. But let's go on to something that I personally had wanted to say. There was a video that was released about the Mesma abilities. It was just one of those silly little, like, look how cool I am, like, so slow and defined, and the monsters die at the right times, it was all staged. But the sound design in it was amazing in this video. It was just like the sounds of it reminded me of the, real jungle or bush, but it sounded uncanny, and it was just, I can just imagine being in the game, turning my volume up. I don't do it as often, but when I first started Guild Wars 2, I would just turn up my volume and just listen. And I can imagine doing this in Heart of Thorns because it sounds beautiful and epic and immersive. And I'm just so, like, I know this is such a silly, like, what are you most excited for in Heart of Thorns? And people are like, specializations, new class. I'm like, sound design. But it sounded really cool, and it just got me pumped and hyped and just feeling super excited for this thing just because of the sound, just to know that the sound is going to be so wonderfully done. But did any of you guys in the chat, did you notice the sound? I know that you didn't really notice it too much, Rowan.
No, I didn't really notice it too much, I'm sorry. But I think...
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, I think it's really great that, to remind everyone, it's all done in-house by Internet, because they did a blog post about their trip from when they first began with Guild Wars 1 up to where they are now, and originally all their sound design I think was outsourced until they moved into their new offices and they actually built facilities to do it all in-house. So I just think hats off to everyone. Everyone at Arena can have a hat off to them.
Yeah, I've always really liked the sound design. I think the one thing, like in the making of book where they have the sound design, I've always laughed because of that picture of the horse, where they've got a microphone up to the horse and there's no horses in the game, and everyone's like, no, it's for the centaurs. But one thing I really liked and always made me laugh is in Awe, there's this sound of a bird that must sound uncanny to the rest of the world, but in Australia, it's an Australian bird that wakes you up in the morning. And when I hear that, it's meant to be like this uncanny eagle, Orient eagle making that noise or something like that. But to me, it sounds like, reminds me of when I was younger and I used to go camping in the bush or, that sort of stuff, and you'd hear those things all the time. And that made me laugh. And I do love the sound design so much in the game. I say it so much.
Yeah,
Sesuko says, I noticed the stoned frogs. Sold me stoned frogs.
Talking about Itzel, maybe? I don't. I'm
pretty sure they do some sort of narcotics. It's not drugs like our sort of drugs, but it's more like because they do so much poisons and stuff like that. And they do that sort of thing. But, I think he means the red-eyed, wide-eyed ones. I have to admit, Sekuso, I love the highlight as well. They sold me.
So that's about all we've got to cover this week.
Yeah.
We've kind of talked about all the major points. So yeah, I guess just a reminder to everyone then. GuildMag issue 15 came out this week, so definitely go and check it out on the guildmag.com website if you're interested. If you fancy contributing, joining the team, then go to guildmag.com/join. You don't need any experience whatsoever. If you've got any questions, you can message me on Twitter or anything, or send me an email, valiant@guildmag.com. I will happily answer them. You're sitting there as if something's desperately wrong. You're like...
No, I'm just nodding away. I'm trying to nod at the right time, check at the right time. Everything's fine.
So yeah, big thank you to everyone who's joined us today in chat. Remember, we are live every Sunday at 10 AM GMT on twitch.tv/guildmag. If you're in the UK, that is 11 AM because, of course, we're in BST.
Yay, time zones.
Yay! And if you're in America, I'm sorry, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It's late if you're in America.
If you're in Australia, it could be different times because we have a big country. There's different time zones. If you're in Western Australia, I know it's 6 PM.
There you go. So yeah, are you going to be streaming next week? Your Lore and Explore?
Hopefully, unless I have another fainting fit at my next class, but I don't plan on it.
Don't faint. You finished Brisbane Wildlands now, haven't you? Or have you? No, haven't you still got a bit to go?
Oh.
Yes, you do.
No, we didn't. That's right. Last time I'm like, we're gonna finish it today, and then like my throat started feeling sore because I wasn't used to speaking, and in the end it made me a liar. So that's why I didn't do it last week, because I was still very lightheaded from fainting, from almost fainting at my class. So I was like, yeah, I could do the show, but it would make no sense, and I wouldn't remember any of the lore of the area, and it would just be me running around going, oh, look at that pretty flower, oh, look at it. So yes, I'm so sorry, Angel. I did put out a tweet, but then I just didn't reply to Rowan when he followed me up on it. I'm sorry. I will be streaming next week.
Okay, there we have it then. So that's Thursday, 10 a.m. GMT / 11 a.m. BST, twitch.tv/GuildMag. Casey does her Lore and Explore. We should totally have like an intro for that.
Oh my god, can I get you to sing the intro? Like, join Casey for Lore and Explore. Yeah.
We should totally do it to like the Dora the Explorer theme tune, but just.
Oh my god, yes.
So yeah, big thank you to everyone who's joined us today. If you've missed any of this stream, it will be up on guildmag.com later, on our YouTube channel, where you can catch all our VODs of all our streams, plus other stuff we put out. That's such a self-explanatory thing. God.
I love your face when you do that, like.
Such
you didn't expect what I say.
So yeah, thanks to everyone for joining us. We will see you in a week's time, hopefully with some more Guild Wars 2 news. So
yay!
Bye everybody.
Next time, specialization for Elementalist. Don't make me a liar reading it.
Bye everybody.
Bye.